If you're someone who works incredibly hard, but your results feel inconsistent, you might be operating at the wrong frequency without even knowing it. Today, I'm going to show you the scientific map of human consciousness that explains why some people effortlessly attract success and we consider them lucky, while others struggle despite having all the right strategies. By the end of the video, you will understand exactly what frequency you are operating at and how to shift it, of course, to unlock your full potential, including why being around certain people drains your energy and the one thing that determines whether you're going to reach your goals or stay stuck in the same patterns. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and the energy feels off, or when you're around certain people and you feel drained for no apparent reason. Maybe you've noticed how some days you wake up feeling energized, creative, focused, and everything is just flowing, and other days when you can barely get out of your bed, even though nothing external has changed. Well, that's not random, that's frequency. And understanding this changed so many things for me. After 12 years of studying psychology, neuroscience, biochemistry, human behavior, and holistic healing methods the past few years, as well as working with CEOs, consulting a bunch of prop firms, over 40, coaching traders and leaders on a daily basis, as well as working on myself, I've seen the same pattern over and over. The people who reach their full potential aren't necessarily the smartest or most talented ones. They are the ones operating at the highest frequency. And I'm not talking about temporary success, I'm talking about lasting with joy, fulfillment, and happiness. If you watched my previous video about discipline versus consciousness, you know that most performance issues aren't discipline problems. They are awareness problems. Today, we're going to dive deeper into what that awareness actually looks like and how you can measure it, as well as shift it, of course. Let me start with something that you have definitely experienced. I used to work with someone who, no matter what we discussed, whether it was work-related or completely casual conversation, would leave me feeling completely drained. It didn't matter if we talked online or in person, though being physically together was worse. But even during online conversations, I could sense their emotions through the words that they used, their tone, their energy. Every interaction required so much energy from me to be able to maintain my mood and my own spark. It was like trying to keep a fire burning in the rain. And on the other side, there are people who make you feel more alive by just being around them. They make you feel happy and they give you energy. Maybe it's a friend who always leaves you feeling inspired, or a mentor whose presence makes you feel more confident and clear. Have you noticed this? How some people seem to energize you while others drain you and you can't always explain why. This isn't personality compatibility. This is frequency exchange. And here is what is happening. Everything in existence vibrates at a specific frequency. Your phone, your coffee cup, your thoughts, your emotions, everything is energy in motion. And when you understand this, you start to see why your results in life aren't just about your strategies or skills. They're about the frequency that you are broadcasting. Let me break this down scientifically in an easy to understand way. I know many of you might say, oh, these new fancy terms are woo-woo, new age, I don't know what, spirituality is BS, but you think this way because you run into people who have misunderstood many concepts and now they're just spreading misinformation online. And if this is new for you, congrats, that's perfect. I will share the science that is proven and measurable. Everything in the universe is made of atoms. You learned this at school. I hope you remember. If you don't remember, you have been probably sleeping while your chemistry teacher was teaching. Atoms are made of subatomic particles, electrons, protons, and neutrons. These particles are constantly moving, creating vibrations, and the vibrations are equal frequency. Your heart has an electromagnetic field that is 5,000 times stronger than your brain's. This field extends 3 to 8 feet beyond your body and changes based on your emotional state. When you feel gratitude, love, appreciation, your heart rhythm becomes coherent. What does it mean? It's smooth and ordered. It's beating slower. When you feel stress, anger, or fear, it becomes chaotic and it's beating faster. There is something called mirror neurons in your brain that automatically sync with the emotional states of people around you. This is why you catch other people's moods without trying. You're tuning into their frequency. They fire both when you perform an action and when you observe someone else performing it. This isn't just for physical movements, it also applies to facial expressions, tone of voice, and emotional expressions. Have you noticed that you start using words and expressions from people that you spend time with without even noticing? If you watch someone smile genuinely, your mirror neurons for smiling fire, and they send micro signals to your facial muscles and emotional centers, which starts lifting your own mood, and you smile back, matching the emotion. Most noticeable in babies. When you smile at a baby, they smile back. When you're serious, they're serious. Before we learn language that we speak, like English or whatever language you're speaking, we use energy and body to communicate. This is documented neuroscience and quantum physics. But here is where it gets interesting for your success. Different emotional states emit different frequencies. And these frequencies don't just affect how you feel, they affect how you think, the decisions that you make, the opportunities that you notice, and the results that you create. You make the best decisions and come up with the coolest ideas when you are at your highest frequency or at a high frequency. If you're at high frequency, which means calm, grateful, inspired, and you spend extended time with someone in a low frequency that feels fear and anger, for example, your mirror neurons and nervous system gradually pulls you toward their state, and vice versa. With short contact, you can leave them without it costing you much. But with prolonged exposure, or in other words, spending more time with low frequency people, you will drain yourself because your energetic system seeks equilibrium. It aims towards balance. And if you're here and your friend is here, you will meet somewhere in the middle the more time that you spend together. That's the scientific explanation of why you are the average of 5 people that you hang out with the most. People's states are contagious. David Hawkins spent decades researching human consciousness and created what's called the Map of Consciousness, a scale from 20 to 1000 that measures the frequency of different emotional and mental states. This isn't an opinion. Hawkins used kinesiology testing on thousands of people to create this map, and it's verified and validated by researchers worldwide. Each level represents a different frequency, a different way of perceiving reality, and a different capacity for success and fulfillment. Now, I'm using the word frequency here because it's what most people are familiar with. I see that there is a confusion online because of lack of understanding, I believe, but I want you to know the difference. On Hawkins Map, the numbers 20, 150, 600 aren't actual sound frequencies in hertz. They are calibration points showing the relative power of a state of consciousness on a logarithmic scale. Yes, your state affects measurable rhythms in your body like heart coherence and brainwave patterns, but those are in single or double digits, not in hundreds. So when I say raise your frequency, I'm talking about raising your level of consciousness, not just playing 500 hertz track on YouTube and calling it done. I wish it was that easy. Although listening to music that you love will help you raise your frequency. Let me walk you through the scale now, and I want you to honestly assess where you spend most of your time. The lower levels from 20 to 200 are survival mode. Shame is at 20, and when you feel shame, you believe I'm bad, ugly, selfish. Shame is identity related. People stuck here often struggle with addiction, self-harm, or complete withdrawal from life. Then we have guilt. You believe I've done or I'm doing bad things. I lived here for years. The moment I slowed down, even just an hour to rest or watching YouTube for fun instead of learning, the inner voice would attack me. You should be working harder, you have tight deadlines, you're being lazy, you have to fix your family's life because you're strong and they're not. If you don't do that, you're a bad person. You don't care about them, you don't love them. I had wired relaxation to mean that I was failing. I believed if I wasn't actively solving problems, especially for my family, that I was bad. It was a limiting belief rooted in childhood, and I was just replaying the patterns that I learned growing up. So if I rested a bit, I felt guilty. And to avoid guilt, I was always active, which created anxiety, but at least it was vibrating higher. We're gonna talk about it soon. I will share in another video the programming behind shame and guilt. So if you're serious about taking responsibility for changing your life, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell not to miss the future videos. I'm preparing some really interesting content, and of course it's life-changing. So I definitely want you to be on track with the content. Then we have apathy at 50. You believe nothing matters. This is a state of hopelessness, despair, feeling like a victim of circumstances. Then we have grief at 75. You have a belief I've lost something important that triggers sadness, regret, feeling like life has no meaning. Then we have fear at 100. You believe that I'm not safe. That triggers anxiety, worry, paranoia, and many people live here chronically. Then we have desire, 125, the belief of I want more. So you have craving, addiction, never feeling satisfied, usually comparing yourself to others. Then we have anger at 150, I believe that I'm frustrated. This can actually be a step up from lower states because there is energy here, but it's destructive energy. Do you notice that whenever I mention a state, I say you have a belief, and I usually start with I am. This is an identity belief, and shift happens when we change the beliefs. When I was in survival mode, I was mainly shifting from 100 to 150, fear, desire, and anger. I used to tap into higher frequencies before, but I would not stay there for a longer time. They would keep me moving forward, and then I would crash. Then we have pride at 175, thinking I'm better than others. This looks like success, but it's a fragile one because it depends on external validation. Social media is full of this. From here, we go to the neutral zone, from 200 to 249. Courage is at 200. This is the critical threshold. Below 200, you are taking energy from life. Above, you are giving energy to life. At courage, you start taking responsibility and facing challenges instead of avoiding them. Then we tap into the higher levels, from 200 and above, which is creation mode. At 250, neutrality, you believe I'm okay either way. You become less attached to outcomes and more present. Then we have willingness, 310. You believe I will do whatever it takes. At this state, you become genuinely hopeful and optimistic. Then we have acceptance at 350. You believe life is good as it is. You stop trying to control everything, you surrender, and you start flowing with what is. Then we have reason at 400. You believe I can figure this out. Science, logic, and understanding becomes important here. Then we have love at 500. You believe I care about everyone's well-being. Unconditional love, not romantic or possessive love. When I wrote on X, don't expect love from others that don't love themselves, because it's same like expecting someone to pour from an empty cup. To truly express unconditional love, you have to be at this level. Many people think everyone can express love, but that's not true. They confuse obsession and care with love. Loving unconditionally is accepting the person for who they are, not who you want them to become. Caring for them and giving without any expectations to get something back. That's unconditional love. So no, not all parents express true unconditional love, and that's where the main problem in childhood conditioning comes from. But I will go more in detail on this topic in another video. After that, we have joy, 540, and you believe that life is amazing. Inner happiness that doesn't depend on any external circumstances. Then we have peace at 600. You believe everything is perfect. You have spiritual awareness. You feel lightness. And the last one is enlightenment, which is above 700, which is complete self-realization. Very, very few humans reach this level. And you can reach this level, but then drop because of the energy balances that I talked about. Here is what most people don't understand. Your frequency level determines your capacity for success, relationships, health, and fulfillment. Let me give you some real examples of how this plays out. Let's say with decision making. At fear level, you make decisions to avoid loss or pain. You might stay in a job that you hate because leaving feels too risky. At courage, you make decisions based on growth and possibility. You're willing to take calculated risks for long-term gain. If you're at acceptance level, you make decisions from wisdom and inner knowing. You trust your intuition and you don't need any external validation. Let's take an example in business and leadership. I'll give you a personal example from a person that I worked with. A CEO who on paper had all the credentials and industry expertise, but his leadership decisions were heavily shaped by undressed insecurities. Instead of steering the company with a clear strategy, most of his energy went into controlling the people around him because he operated at fear and anger, constantly scanning for threats, unable to rest. And his patterns included over-controlling every decision, emotional reactivity to minor setbacks, and shifting direction frequently because he focused on avoiding mistakes rather than creating opportunities. And what was the result? Entire team was exhausted, wasted resources on half-finished projects, and missed growth opportunities. And your employees demotivated. The business stayed stuck, reacting to problems instead of building toward a vision, and the company was stuck because of how he was running it, and more importantly, how he was running himself. Because how you run yourself is how you run your company and your family, relationships, everything. So what are the common patterns in different frequency levels? When you're operating below 200, you're reactive instead of responsive. You focus on problems instead of solutions. You avoid challenges instead of embracing growth. You compete instead of collaborating, and you take energy from others instead of giving. When you're operating above 200, you become solution-oriented. You see opportunities in challenges. You inspire other people around you naturally. You make decisions from wisdom, not fear. And you have sustainable energy and enthusiasm. You have charisma, and you attract opportunities with that, of course. Now, here is something crucial that most people don't understand. Frequencies aim towards equilibrium, towards balance. I mentioned it shortly at the beginning. In physics, when two systems with different energy levels come into contact, they exchange energy until they reach a balance. The same thing happens with human consciousness. Let's say if you are operating at love level, 500, and you spend time with someone operating at anger, 150 level, there is a constant exchange of energy. You might pull them up slightly, but they will pull you down. This is why I mentioned earlier how certain people drain your energy. It's not personal, it's physics. This is the explanation for something that you couldn't explain. When I'm around low frequency people, those who are insecure, jealous, constantly complaining, or stuck in negative emotions, I notice my frequency dropping immediately. I start feeling more drained, irritated. And these people are the majority of people nowadays, which is why I've learned to love spending time alone. I never wanted to spend as much time alone as I do now. But once you reach higher consciousness levels and you understand how good it feels, you will want to protect your state at all costs. And this protection is also what allows you to level up and succeed, because when you are at high frequency state, you make your best decisions. You feel the best, and that's why it's important to protect it. So what is the key point to understand here? Time exposure matters significantly. Short contact, you can maintain your frequency without much drain. Prolonged contact, their baseline, the baseline of people at low frequency becomes your environment, and your system adapts by matching it. If you are at low level all the time, you're doing all the lifting, which is energetically very expensive. This is why successful people often seem to be selective about who they spend time with. They are energetically intelligent because they know the cost of it. So how can we handle unavoidable low frequency contact? Sometimes you can't avoid low frequency people. You find them at workplace, family, which is the most difficult one to handle, and then other necessary interactions. But here is how to protect your frequency. First, lead with neutrality. Don't get emotionally invested in their reactions. Try to set time boundaries. Let's say I have just 10 minutes or 30 minutes for this person before my next tasks. Avoid frequency match traps. So don't defend yourself or don't try to fix them. Don't fall for their fight or their drama. And micro-regulate your nervous system during the contact. Breathe deeper and try to stay intentionally more grounded. And of course, do a post-contact reset. Some movement, gratitude practice. I will share a few things that I usually do shortly. So, as I mentioned, frequencies tend toward equilibrium. In biology, humans co-regulate through the nervous system. Your breathing, heart rate, and emotional state sync with those around you through mirror neurons that I mentioned before and vagal tone. In consciousness terms, if you are at, let's say, level of peace and your friend is at fear, your system works to maintain the high state, while your friends is naturally seeking the calm that you're radiating. But this requires energy output from you. Without recharging afterward, your baseline can drop, making you more prone to reactiveness. I know many don't want to hear this because their partners or family members are the ones that are dragging them down. But if you share the knowledge that I share in this video and we increase awareness of people, we can help each other to work on increasing our states together. So share this video with everyone in your close circle. Once I learned how to shift my frequencies and how to recharge, my life changed completely. So I'm going to share with you what are the different activities that I consistently do in order to maintain myself at a high frequency level and to recharge after communicating and spending time with low frequency people. First of all, dancing. Dancing is one of my favorite ones. It makes my inner child happy, and when I dance, it's similar to somatic shaking. All the not so good emotions get shaken away. I feel them just releasing or leaving my body. Another thing is walking in nature alone, connecting with myself, paying attention to my breath, expressing gratitude. These practices raise your frequency immediately. Nature itself operates at a high frequency, which is why most people feel better outdoors. I also love massages, self-care routines, yoga, and even the gym. Each of these activities shift my state because they connect me to my body and the present moment. But the biggest transformation came from understanding that guilt and anxiety were keeping me trapped in low frequency and were holding me back. Whenever I would rest, my internal voice would attack me. As I said before, you should be working, you're being lazy, you will never reach your goals this way. I realized that this wasn't my voice, it was childhood programming. And once I saw it clearly and overcame the traumas and the conditioning, I could choose differently. Instead of operating from guilt, I learned to operate from willingness and acceptance. The shift from low to high level isn't just about feeling better, it changes what becomes possible in your life. It changes your health, it changes your mood, it changes your performance. Okay, let's do now a quick assessment of your current consciousness level. This will give you a baseline to work from. Step 1 is checking your body or your physiology. Are your shoulders tense? Is your jaw tight? Breath shallow? If yes, this often points to fear to anger range. Are you feeling low on energy and heavy? If yes, this points to apathy or grief. Or are you upright, relaxed, but alert? This often points to courage or above. Step 2 is checking your dominant emotion. Choose which one is most accurate. Do you feel shame, guilt, and hopelessness, which is 20 to 50? Do you feel fear, anxiety, or frustration, which is 100 to 150? Do you feel neutral and you feel acceptance, willingness, or gratitude, joy, and love? And then step 3, check your thought patterns. Am I scanning for problems? This is lower levels. Am I focused on solutions and next steps? This is mid to higher levels. And am I thinking about creating, contributing, or connecting? If yes, these are higher levels. If you have been mostly in lower levels, you are in survival mode and it's time for a frequency shift practice. If you are mid levels, you are stable and open, but you could use a lift to reach a creative flow. And for high levels, protect your state and share it intentionally. You will influence others positively, but be aware because your baseline is important to be stable. And of course, share with me in the comments below. I'm curious to understand the level of my viewers, to understand what type of strategies to share through my content. So here are some practices that I use daily to quickly shift frequency. I mentioned a few already. They can be mind-based, body-based, or energy-based. And I share them also in my course. Mind-based can be gratitude ladder, so you start expressing gratitude for something small, such as I'm grateful for my morning coffee, and then you work yourself up and you go deeper, more meaningful things. The progression naturally elevates your frequency. Another thing can be you can close your eyes and imagine a goal that you have already accomplished, including all your senses. Feel it as if it's happening now. Many people say here, how do you mean, Anna, include all senses? The easiest example that you can understand that I usually give to my clients is, let's say when you think of your loved one or someone that you're attracted to, some nice memories, intimate moments, you feel them close, you feel them touching, you imagine this of course, and the chemistry is building. I don't need to go into the details, you know what I mean. You feel horny, right? You feel turned on, like your partner is next to you, ready for action. And they're not even physically present. They are not in the room, but you are able to create this with your mind. That's how you should approach your goals as well. How you should make yourself feel about your goals. Get so turned on by them that they feel real right now. Then body-based shifts can be different breathing techniques, somatic shaking. Shake your whole body for 1 to 2 minutes to discharge the stuck energy, like animals do after escaping danger. Or if you like dancing like me, dance moves the body. You can do some twerking in front of the mirror. That's my hobby. This is similar to somatic shaking and you release negative energy. And then energy-based ones are maybe placing your hand on your heart and breathing, box breathing, and taking a moment of appreciation and gratitude for 2 to 3 minutes, or showing compassion, sending a kind message to someone, giving a compliment, or just silently wishing someone well, even if they don't even know about this. This shifts your frequency instantly. And the key is consistency. These aren't just one-time practices, they should be daily practices that gradually raise your baseline frequency. chances are that you're going to be surrounded more with low vibration, so you need to recharge consistently, like you're recharging your phone. You don't want your phone without the battery, then you don't want to be without the battery as well. Okay, let me summarize why it matters for reaching your full potential. Your frequency determines what opportunities you notice. Higher frequency sees possibilities where lower frequencies see problems. Second, what decisions you make. Fear-based choices versus growth-based choices. What relationships you attract. You attract different people with different frequencies. How much energy you have. Higher frequencies are self-sustaining and the lower ones are draining. You will absorb energy from other people. How quickly you recover from setbacks. Resilience increases a lot with the frequency or the consciousness level. When you, let's say, operate from courage and above, you stop being reactive and you start being creative. You stop being a victim of circumstances and you start being a creator of your reality. That's what I've been talking about in the previous videos in the Wake Up series. This is the foundation of everything that I teach in my course, Become Limitless as well. Understanding that your external results are always a reflection of your internal state. Most people try to change their circumstances, hoping it will change how they feel, but it works the opposite way. Change your frequency first, or your level of consciousness, and your circumstances shift to match. If you're recognizing yourself in these patterns and you want to go deeper, I have a few ways we can continue this journey together. And it will be really my pleasure to be part of your journey. I have a free book club where we explore these topics and concepts with different books, focused on increasing consciousness, awareness, understanding ourselves and our childhood conditioning, understanding ourselves deeply. And this is a place for transformation where like-minded people support each other's growth. Every month, we dive into a different book and we discuss topics and realizations on our monthly goals. For those that are ready for more intensive work, I also offer one-on-one consulting. I work with people who believe that they are meant for more, whether you are a current entrepreneur, trader, someone who is working a 9-to-5 but thinking of creating something of your own, or someone who is just feeling lost but wanting to discover what more is possible for you. And if you're someone who loves learning at your own pace, Become Limitless, my course is the complete system that I've developed that is very simple, and I have collected knowledge from over 12 years of studying and practical application. It's everything that I wish I had when I started my journey. You can find all the links in the description down below. But more importantly, start applying what we've covered today, because your frequency is your foundation for everything else. Look, most people will spend their entire lives wondering why some people seem to have all the luck in the world, all the opportunities, all the success, and they will try strategy after strategy, system after system, never realizing that they are operating from the wrong frequency, and that's what's holding them back. But you are not most people. You're here, you're learning, you're growing. You understand now that everything is energy, including your success and your mood and your well-being. Your frequency is broadcasting to the world who you are and what you are capable of. The question is, what frequency are you choosing to operate from? In our next conversation and videos, I'm going to show you why your brain automatically chooses fight, flight, or freeze responses, and how these choices shape not just your emotional state, but your entire life and health. Because understanding frequency is just the beginning, of course. You now understand where you are at and what you should work on. But understanding the neural programming that determines your frequency is where the real transformation becomes possible. So we're gonna dive just deeper and deeper. We will explore why some people faced with the same challenging environment develop completely different coping strategies, and how those strategies either limit or liberate their potential for years to come. A simple example is if you have siblings, you have all grown up in the same environment, but you all responded differently, I believe, to different situations. If this resonated with you, make sure to share it with someone who needs to understand the power of levels of consciousness. And remember, you're not just consuming content here, you're upgrading your consciousness. The first step towards change is awareness, and you have it now. The higher that you rise, the more that you can lift others. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.